Hello, and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Greg Wyshynski. I'm the senior NHL writer at ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, and that also has the hockey rights now. So it's been very exciting for your boys since the last time we spoke on this podcast.
Very exciting, and it's been you pop up on my TV sometimes. Or my
in your house.
Yeah, just I go downstairs and Craig's standing on my TV, and I'm just like, come on.
My favorite was I get pictures from people that are at the gym. Mm-hmm. And then they send me pictures of me on ESPN2 talking about betting. Right. And they'll be like, aren't you on the elliptical right now? How are you even working your phone in such an adept way to A, identify that I'm on the TV, and B, grab your phone and execute a photograph in the time that I'm still on the air whilst working out? It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most impressive.
Working out pays off.
There it is. That's a Star Wars reference.
It won't be the last. Well, thanks again for taking time out. Now, hockey season's over. The draft happened. We got a little breathing room here. We got you here. And I'm a little bit worried that somebody's going to die, but we'll see. Because, when Greg shows up.
Right. Someone's dead when I show up. First of all, to correct you, my summer is about 30 seconds long because it's still free agency. Yeah. When that gets done, all of a sudden it's training camp.
What's free agency? I'm an Islanders fan. I don't know.
Well, it's stupid, right? It's a sport that's played on ice that ends its season in the middle of summer. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of other summer crap that happens. We got to redo the calendar. But to your point, though, Pete, when Greg shows up on the Star Wars Minute, you used to say people are going to die. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People are going to die.
It's true. And so we're starting a minute 116. It starts out with Han saying, "I know you," and it ends with Qi'ra saying, "We're going to need something to buy our ship with." And my follow up to that was also, luckily they can save the Goondocks with that too. So
that's right. That's right. They can.
Yeah. But it's I guess we just jump right into it because I didn't realize that it happened in the first minute. Qi'ra is kind of she flips here. She's talking to Han, and then it was explaining kind of her motives, and then whips around and it starts a quick fight with Dryden Voss, which ends in his death.
Couple things about this fight.
Okay,
so the sword that she uses in the fight against Dryden Voss is one of the most remarkable weapons, low key, maybe in Star Wars history, where it's both a sword and a giant pair of barbecue tongs, apparently, in which she's able to snatch the weapon that Dryden Voss has out of his hand. By the way, not the easiest snatch, considering it appears to be a pair of brass knuckles with laser knives on the brass knuckles. Somehow snatches them away and then creates a impromptu pickaxe to then kill him. Do we have any information on what this weapon she was using is? Because it's a sword that doubles as barbecue tongs.
Yeah. Alex, is that in the official?
I'm going to look it up in the official the official guide by Pablo Hidalgo.
Oh, excellent. Good to see Pablo still keeping busy.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I don't quite understand the functionality of it. It's the Dryden Vosses, the Crimson Dawn's guards have swords, but then they can also use them in case they get caught to pick up trash on the side of the road, I suppose.
If they were at Nathan's, they wanted to eat some French fries.
Exactly. It's got multiple functions, right? If you're at a salad bar, you need to get into that baby spinach, you just use your sword. I don't know, man. It was a bit of a surprise when I watched the scene back and saw how he bit it. I forgot that she somehow snatched the weapon out of his hands with her own weapon and then impaled him. Again, a bit complicated. You have a sword, maybe just use that for the impaling. But no, I'm going to take your and then use it on you. It was pretty good. Yeah.
I have a theory, but I want to hear. Is there anything in the book, Alex?
No, Pete, there's no information in Solo, the official guide by Pablo Hidalgo, now available on digital and Blu-ray.
Well, I have a theory.
Yes,
Because
the Star
Qi'ra
Wars theory
has been working as Dryden Voss's assistant basically for a long time. So this is a really long setup that she specifically was sourcing kind of antiques and decorations, and she got a sword that would be able to block that knife thing that he always uses. She got, this is a perfect, she measured it out. Like, what's the gap on, she was like messaging people on eBay being like, how wide is the gap between those two tongs there?
Mm-hmm.
And then got one that specifically would be able to block and hold his little hand knife laser thing.
As you guys have covered on the show, improbable foresight is a hallmark of the Solo movie as far as scheming and double crossing. So that would make sense that she would be able to see so far ahead in the future as to hand one of the guards the only weapon that could snatch the brass knuckle laser knife out of Dryden Voss's hand.
Do you think this is evidence of Qi'ra being force sensitive?
Do I think that? No.
Oh, okay. So this,
I think it makes her, it's evidence of her being observant. I don't know if that's one of the hallmarks of the Force or not, but
it's a fine line.
Yeah.
So this setup here is almost like Return of the Jedi, where she's pretending she's going to kill Han Solo, and then she turns around and turns on her master and sends him down a reactor shaft, which he then returns from a couple of years later.
Right.
It's not quite, because it's not like Dryden Voss was torturing Han, and then that's what pushed Qi'ra. I was trying to think, is there another example? I feel like there must be another example of this where.
Are you being
Star Wars, or just
are you being facetious? Because it's a poem. It rhymes. It's looking into the future. The Snoke murder.
Oh, there you go.
Right, was also part of it too. Where all of a sudden, you're going to use your weapon on somebody, and then you're using it on someone else.
There you go. Yeah, no, I wasn't being facetious, but I knew there had to be one that was a little bit more close. But that's
it.
That's a good example.
It rhymes, as you guys know.
Right. Yeah.
It's especially funny since that's Han Solo's son who does it, so it flips it also. And the other,
that's where he got the idea to do it. They were out like having a catch, and he's like, son, like you know what a good trick is. One time, this girl I used to hang out with before I met your mother.
Do you think if they showed someone playing catch, would it be just like regular? They'd be throwing ball, or would it be like some kind of space cue? Would it be like some kind of droid that was flying back and forward to each other?
Right, and
catch seems almost too simple.
Kylo's like, "Who's Qi'ra?" And he's like, I don't know. I even love your mother and stuff. Adventures before I met her.
Just somebody I worked for. Did some business. Smuggler's business.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed there's no dialogue between Qi'ra and Dryden Voss. No, like, I trained you, he just kind of like, it's just silent between them, and it's kind of disappointing, but what can you do, right?
I know you guys have covered Dryden Voss a bit on the show. I wanted to ask you both, because you're both comic book nerds. Remember the Beyonder from Secret Wars?
Sure.
Didn't his face scars kind of remind you a little bit of the little lightning bolts when the Beyonder became human on Earth? That always reminded me of that when I watched Solo back.
You're probably thinking of the Molecule Man, who was sort of the Beyonder's kind of
right, who the Beyonder like took over, right?
Yeah, Beyonder and Molecule Man merged to form a cosmic cube.
Of course they did. But it was like he had them little lightning bolts on his face, right?
Yeah.
I'm not misremembering that, right? It always reminded me a little bit when I saw Dryden Voss.
Good call. You out-nerded us. All this time, we've never once brought up the Molecule Man or the Beyonder. How is that possible?
Yeah, well, you need to have your boy on. Greg comes on, someone's going to die, and there's going to be an obscure reference to a 1980s short limited release comic series. So.
Do you like Paul Bettany as Dryden Voss, or Paul Bettany in general?
I remember when I watched like the last third of the movie again, and like I remember being really sad that Paul Bettany checked out. Like, he's so good, not only as an actor, but he's one of the guys in this movie that really understood the assignment. And I was sorry to see him go. Like, when he's doing the whole bit beforehand about, knowing what their plan was and kind of putting the screws to Han a little bit about knowing that it was a fake. Like that's great stuff. Like that is everything you want from the pulpy smuggler movie they're trying to make. So I always said, I mean, he needs to die, right? Because it then leads you to the stuff with Qi'ra. You're making a face.
Right. They could get there. They could have stretched it out longer. I think if this movie, if they had this idea a year, 2 years later, it would have been a Disney Plus series.
I'll get you, Han Solo.
I think Dryden Voss would have been a more longer term villain. Like
right. In the context of this movie, he needed to die, but in the context of like what we want out of these things, he could stick around. He was great. I loved him in this flick.
Yeah.
I guess we already know what happened to him. He gets stabbed and then he's just laying there, so he could come back.
We've seen a lot of people, but in a little bit we see him looking pretty dead.
Yeah,
but he's near human. He's not a human, so maybe that's just what his people do. That's like he goes into like a healing trance and he turns kind of blue and cold and stiff.
Yeah, he did, and then you get a laser blade up, and it's something. Not only are you impaled, but now it's probably sizzling up all your internals too. So
right,
it's not a good look, not a good thing at all.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to, in his defense, we're about to see someone who was literally cut in half by a lightsaber and somehow managed to come back from that. So I think anything's possible if they really want to bring him back.
That we'll get to that later in the week, but I do think that that would be a good add-on to the phone call. You know what else? I speaking of weapons here, and I think I mentioned this the other day this is where it really hits home. Like right next to Han Solo, there's totally like Jor-El's diary crystal. Like I just really wanted him to like use a shard of the green goddess or whatever to either as a weapon or like I found it distracting as a he should have put it into a computer and had Marlon Brando show up.
It belongs in a computer.
Han, my son, my son Han.
Show.
I can't. The thing about Marlon Brando, not to make this a Superman minute, but I will never get over how much he was paid for such limited work in that movie. Like it blows my mind. And wasn't he also, along with Hackman, higher on the call sheet on the poster than was Christopher Reeve? Was also the thing too.
Totally.
That's what kind of like started the Nicholson Keaton Batman 89 trope of like the other famous people in your movie are going to get top billing over the person playing the titular hero.
Right.
Is there anyone today who has that kind of power who like can show up for, like one scene and get paid, or is considered like so kind of like almost reclusive that you don't see them very much? I can't think of anybody.
That's a really good question. So it'd have to be somebody with incredible gravitas who then gets top billing, and that's tough because usually now I think we've all resigned ourselves to the and blah 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 as blah 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 kind of casting when it comes to like a megastar being in your movie, or
like secret cameo. You know what I mean? Like George Clooney has that kind of star power and hasn't been doing that much. He's been pretty selective, but also like if he showed up, it would be like he's just in it as a celebrity cameo. It would be unbilled, right? He would be, it'd be like a fun surprise.
In the Fast and Furious movie where Charlize was in it, it was like, and Charlize Theron as the woman with a submarine or whatever the hell she was in that movie. But like if Daniel Day-Lewis showed up as like Zeus in some like Percy Jackson remake, I mean, I still think maybe he gets top billing and then everybody else falls in line. But like, I think that's what it'd have to be. It'd have to be like a Percy Jackson, YA, Harry Potter-esque adjacent thing where your biggest star is going to be the reason people show up, You'd have to be that.
The kids, the people who it's aimed for don't know and don't care who that is, but it's like the grown-ups kind of.
Yeah, it's like Denzel Washington in Percy Jackson and the Sea Monsters. Yeah.
But also, and they would hype
Denzel as the sea monster.
His face CGI, not some creature. Yeah, I also feel like we're kind of past that age of movie stars where it's like, Like they're so accessible now. They're just like us. We've learned all over the, repeatedly. So it doesn't have the same, feeling of someone coming down from Olympus to be in a corny Superman movie. But
you're right though. Like it would have to be. That's why it'd have to be somebody from that class of like Clooney, Julia Roberts. Somebody who was like a mega star back in the day, who then puts their name on a genre property would probably be the way it would go. Yeah.
And nowadays we're so used to Anthony Hopkins selling out and being in a no one seems to be above that sort of thing anymore. It's like,
right.
Oh, my grandchildren like this movie, so I'm gonna get paid $1 billion, so that's why I'm gonna do it.
I've said it before, but I feel like the universe broke when I saw Glenn Close as Nova Prime in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was like, all right,
Here, I'll give you one. If they did a Birds of Prey sequel, and Emma Stone was Poison Ivy, Emma Stone gets top billing over Margot Robbie and everyone else potentially.
You think?
Maybe
she's been doing that Harley Quinn for a while now.
I know.
I guess we'll find out eventually. Yeah.
If Emma Stone's like, you got to put me over on the cast sheet over Harley Quinn or Margot Robbie and
right,
Black Canary, then maybe that happens.
I guess the difference between Star Wars and the MCU is Star Wars traditionally goes with we're not casting famous people as our leads. You know what I mean? Like we're looking for the next Mark Hamill or, whereas with the MCU, a lot of times it's like, okay, which celebrity is going to play, let's cast this movie using all the hot celebrities of the day. And then,
I would say you're right. And then the other difference would be that the MCU knows how to end a series of movies without taking your soul out of your body and wiping your ass with it and then throwing it down the sewer.
Well, we all have our opinions on it.
Now we know what column to put Greg in for next season. Yeah, I mean, also the MCU is more just kind of like they let the star make people didn't like Iron Man and Thor were like not A-list characters before the Avengers, and I mean, Chris Hemsworth was not a huge star. He was, getting there, but like Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man. He lifted Iron Man up to a whole different level, versus kind of, it's not like matching an A-list star with an A-list hero all the time. It's just like, all right, they're just like, oh, who can we get? Oh, cool, that guy's popular. Let me, okay, how do you feel about Angar the Screamer? You know what I mean? Like,
they just give me a handbook of the Marvel Universe. You'll pick who you want to play.
The ones with X's are already claimed by people from Game of Thrones.
Right, and Star Wars is forever expanding, and we're like, who's gonna play Dryden Voss kind of deal? It's a different vibe.
Yeah, I guess that's also the difference is that Marvel, they're characters that have been established in the comics, so you can whereas Star Wars generally is
they decide
unknown
to throw
characters.
All that out.
Correct, right? Yeah, it's all fresh IP, like Watto,
right?
All the people fighting to play Watto,
freestyling right now. Something fresh IP like Watto,
and Daniel Day-Lewis as Watto.
I think
Republic credits are no good here, boy.
And I'm picturing him totally like he's doing it method. He won't the whole time he's on the set. He's dressed like Griffin from George Lucas talk show, where he's got the little nose on, and he won't talk to people
hanging from wires, so that floats around the room.
Yeah, there's a PA whose job is just to push him around on a little luggage rack because he's floating on a thing.
I'm a man who implanted a bomb in a boy.
If you want me to play Watto, you've got to keep my little wings on my back the whole time.
What has happened to my trash hat? I really appreciated watching this again. I really appreciated before the action starts when Qi'ra's just talking. Dryden Voss has this great kind of real casual kind of stance about him. He's just kind of watching what's going on. He's like, this is fascinating. This is he's not excited. He's not
not gloating.
Tense. He's not on edge. He's almost just kind of okay, this is what's going on. Oh, cool. Look, she's gonna kill that guy. He's very casual, but right before he gets killed. And, it made me wonder like how much of that is direction. I don't know if they were just kind of like, okay, what, you're sitting here, you're just watching this unfold. Like, I don't know if they were like, is that Ron Howard saying like, just
look casual,
look
right.
like you're cool. You don't have a care in the world with this. This happens all the time. You just killed the regional governor.
He is the kind of character that would just assume that he's kind of like game planned it out correctly and he doesn't have anything to worry about in that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably been in this situation dozens of times.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And including the stabbing part. He's just like, oh, another.
When am I going to learn?
Yeah. They stabbed me with my knife again. Oh.
Well, that's all I have for 116.
Well, I was going to say, Qi'ra also has this, like, I had a question about Kira's line here, because she says, I had to. Like, after she kills them, she was like, I had to. Like, is she playing innocent, or is she feeling guilty about that, or is she, like, why does she say, like, I had to? Is she worried that Han is going to think differently of her? Is she just setting up, kind of like, like, if anybody asks, I had to do that, okay? If you get a call from a guy with a lightsaber and horns, like, here's how it went down, okay? Like, or is she worried about what he's gonna think, or is that literally her just like unsure about what she just did, like
trying to convince herself?
Trying to convince herself.
Yeah, like self-defense kind of thing. I don't think at that moment she's really like conceived the rest of the situation that we're gonna talk about for the rest of the week, but like it sounded very much like kind of like I'm not a killer per se, even though Dryden Voss certainly inferred that she's done horrible things to indicate that she is a killer. So yeah, she's just trying to like make it seem to her boyfriend, being like, hey, listen, this ain't me. I don't usually use tweezer swords to pluck someone's brass knucks off and then stab them in the chest. It's not a Tuesday for me.
It's only happened like 2 or 3 times before.
It seems weird though, because I would not imagine like Han being like, why did you do that? Like what did she think he was really going to be mad that she just wasn't Han just trying to kill him a second ago? Like, it's
Han who's never taken a life.
Maybe she meant she had to act like I was going to kill you. Maybe that's the part she was sort of justifying. Like, I had to pretend.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
That makes more sense then.
Or I couldn't tell you I was going to kill him. I don't know.
Or it's like, it's like an old person like posting to Facebook. She's like, I just had to. Like,
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Right. That's her. Yeah. It was her, the equivalent of a dank anti-vax meme.
Right. Exactly.
That she posted on her Facebook.
Exactly. Too good not to share. Right. And she's like pointing at dead Dryden Voss. Well, then that is all I had for 116. Greg, did you have anything else for that? But the minute unfolds, we find out the aftermath of this slightly. We start to tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I figure, whenever we do the show, there's always an update on the list, which I figure we'll do later in the week, I imagine, right?
Sure.
The ranking.
We could. We've been in order to kind of not sow discontent amongst Star Wars fans. We've been
avoiding the lists?
Well, not encouraging it, but we're open to it. We'd love to talk through it if you want to. If you brought one, we'd love to talk through it.
Of course I brought one. I bring one every time.
Towards it. All right, good.
Yeah, but we could do whatever you want, whenever you want. If there's a lighter minute, there was nothing really happens, we could do it then. Doesn't matter to me.
All right, we'll hang on to it for a little bit, and we'll let that be a teaser. Get people to come back later in the week. And hey, while you're waiting to come back later in the week, why not send us things? We like things.
No.
Walk in the dark.
I know. We got a P.O. box that we still, Adam checks it every once in a while. So don't
Charlie
send perishables.
Brown.
Don't send.
Hello.
But please mail us things. It's Star Wars Minute, P.O. Box 20139, Greedo Square Station, New York, New York 10001. And send us some things. We'll love it. And I think we're going to do some Alex doesn't know this yet, but I think we're going to do some mailbag specials on YouTube coming up. So we'll open your stuff on the air. We had to. It was just too good not to share, right? And we will be back tomorrow with a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.